And what you gonna do when Hulkamania and the largest arms in the world run wild on you?
Tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. right here in Toronto's Maple Leaf Gardens. Don't...
What the hell was that?
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the Retro Wrestling Room. This is the first episode in a brand new series called Can Wrestlers Act? Ever since the 1980s, wrestlers have been crossing over into Hollywood. And I mean, why not? Wrestling is acting, right? Surely it will be a smooth transition over to the big screen. Well, maybe. The only criteria for this series is that the film must have a wrestler in a prominent role. I think it's fair to say the wrestlers in movies have been a real mixed bag. And this is where this series is all about. What better way to start this series than with one of the biggest wrestling superstars of all time, Hulk Hogan. We are not going to be looking at his debut film, which was Rocky III, unfortunately. Today, we are going to look back at his 1993 film, Mr. Nanny. As always, we have the Eddie to my Chavo Guerrero, Vicky to the Looking Glass.
Hi guys.
How are you today, Vicky?
I'm good, thanks. You?
Not too shabby. Are you excited to look back at some wrestling related films rather than matches or terrible VHS that I own?
I am, but I feel like this is going to fall into the category of a terrible VHS that you own.
I do own this on VHS.
I know, that's how I know it's going to fall into that category. I've never actually seen this film.
You're in for a treat.
I can tell.
So not only do we have Vicky with us, but we also have another very special guest that is going to be joining us in this series. And that is the dog-faced gremlin of this channel, Erica.
Hello!
How are you today, Erica?
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to be here.
I'm glad. Erica has been known in my personal life as the dog-faced gremlin for about 10 years now, so it's only fitting that she is always known as that on the channel as well.
Thank you so much.
I feel like it is a term of endearment. I feel like we do need to establish that.
It is a love-hate relationship.
I love Ben, and he hates me.
There we go.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I won't argue with that. So are you looking forward to checking out some of these films in this series? Because I know that you are quite a fan of terrible films.
I love terrible films, and I know how much obviously in the course of our friendship, we've talked about 80s and early 90s wrestling a lot. I think sort of growing up in the US, I was very much exposed to this. Like I was a kid at the peak of WWE, so Hulk Hogan, Jake the Snake, all these legends, icons, if you will. So yeah, I'm on board. I'm very excited, and like Vicky, I had never seen Mr. Nanny, so yeah, I'm truly looking forward to this.
When I think of wrestling films, or wrestlers in films, I just go straight to The Rock and think of good films.
He was also in The Tooth Fairy, mind.
Yeah. But he was also Maui.
But he was in Doom.
Touché.
I'm not sure he was always in good films.
True. And John Cena was in Barbie.
Was he in Barbie?
Yeah, he was the merman.
That was John Cena.
Yeah. That's what I just said, and John Cena was in...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't correct me on Barbie. I did my Barbie film.
I didn't hear John Cena either.
No. We can not only not see him, we can't hear him either.
Nice.
So before diving straight into the film, let's take a quick look at the background of how this film came to be. So in the 1980s, Hulk Hogan was a legit superstar. He had become the biggest wrestler of all time. He had already crossed over into Hollywood with a role in the hugely successful Rocky III film as a wrestler who was massively in love with himself called Thunderlips. He had become much more than just a wrestler. He was a pop icon from that era. So what next? Well, to capitalise on his popularity with more film roles. His first branch out into Hollywood after the success of Rocky III was No Holds Barred, which is a film script written specifically with Hulk Hogan in mind for the main role. In the film he played a wrestler, so a big departure for him, called Rip, who is then being poached to be in a rival's promotion, but when he refuses the offer, the head of the rival network tries to get revenge on him by bringing in an ex-convict to get revenge on him. It made $16 million at the box office on a suspected $8 million budget, so since films spend the same amount on promoting the project, it's safe to say that this film just about broke even. His next leading role was in the 1991 film Suburban Commando, where the Hulkster plays an interstellar warrior named Shep Ramsey, who is on a mission to capture General Suter. His ship crashes down to Earth and hijinks ensues as he tries to fix his ship to get back home. The original script of this was actually called Urban Commando. It was intended for Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, but they settled on the film Twins instead, which was probably 100% the right choice. The film had a budget of $11 million, but with a box office disaster by only bringing in $8 million. So that brings us up to today's film. Can Hulk Hogan rescue his Hollywood career and prove that he can really be a Hollywood star? And the main question of all of this, can this wrestler act? Let's find out. The film starts up with the New Line Cinema logo, the house that Freddy built, followed by our protagonist asleep on the dock. Unfortunately, this doesn't last 30 seconds before Kruger comes in, but it does go straight to a dream sequence. The credits come up and say Terry Hulk Hogan? He was in that weird period of time where he didn't know if he wanted to go full Terry Bollea or Hulk Hogan or not. In the scene, looks like it's lifted straight out of Raging Bull. Hulk is getting beat down by several real wrestlers that include Brutus the Barber Beefcake in his Zodiac garb, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Kamala, Afa, and George the Animal Steel.
You okay?
You seem to have lost your mind in the first scene.
I mean, it was a very dramatic opening sequence.
It really was.
I mean, it was slow motion with also dramatic pauses. It just had. I mean, I was captivated instantly. Like you, when I saw Terry Hulk Hogan come up in the credits, I was like, wait a second, this is a legitimate actor.
What?
And I immediately, the film, you know, it commands respect right from the get-go.
It really does. Falling off his chair to wake up, we are introduced to Bert, who was played by Sherman Hemsley from the Jefferson fame. As a kid, I always knew him as the guy who would turn up in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air from time to time.
Did he?
Your daddy is so fat that when he went to school, he sat next to everybody.
See, because I know him from the Jeffersons.
See, I've heard of the Jeffersons, but I've never actually seen it.
But do you know the theme song?
Is it?
Moving on up to the east side.
No, I know what I was thinking. What tune's that?
That's Sanford and Son.
Okay.
I've never watched The Jeffersons, and I remember vaguely Fresh Prince, but I didn't watch it like religiously.
You've watched the Jetsons.
I have watched The Jetsons.
Close.
I don't think he showed up on that one though.
No.
No guest appearances by Sherman Hemsley there.
Setting up the plot instantly, he tells Hulk that he has a client that needs a bodyguard and the Hulkster is the perfect match, to which he replies,
I'm not a bodyguard. I'm a wrestler, okay?
Wait.
I am a wrestler.
it would have been so much better if he'd said, I am not an actor, I am a wrestler, and he didn't do this film.
Can we just start by saying how terrible his wig/hair extensions are throughout this film?
What? How very dare you!
Hulk would never lie to us.
Really?
Hulk always lies to us.
The wrestler director Darren Aronofsky offered him the lead role 3 times. Hogan claims he turned it down because he didn't deserve it. Aronofsky categorically denies that Hogan was ever considered for the role.
Well, besides, it's the fucking hell.
Bert tells us that he took a bullet for Hulk, and that's why he owes him one. Remember this, as we'll come back to this scene later. After agreeing to the job, we get a montage of Hogan driving his Harley through the town, and we get the main theme song of the film called Rough Stuff, which was the original title of the film. I'm so glad that they retitled it. I 100% didn't want to watch old Hulkster doing any rough stuff with kids.
Jesus Christ. That would be a different film.
I don't know. I think that's a bit dodgy, mate.
I had to point this out to you two just in case you missed it. Now, this has become quite a famous scene because this is the infamous scene. In the background, when Hulk goes past the sea, you can see a guy in the background clearly throwing a dog away. I swear to God, and it's insane.
Why did he just throw it into the water? I have so many questions. Was this like set up? Was this meant to happen? Or was it just a random passerby? Like, what is going on? I looked in the credits and there was no credit for a dog.
No, I don't think anybody noticed until years later. I'm sure it was just captured. But he's not just throwing it to play, he's throwing that dog to get rid of it.
Yeah, it's literally like throwing it in the trash.
Yeah, it's a deliberate action. There's no love, there's no playfulness there. It's just
what?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
We then get introduced to Mr. Mason, played by Austin Pendleton, who you may recognise from the Muppets movie or Short Circuit. He's the person who's looking for a bodyguard and is looking out of his window at the exact time that Mr. Hogan shows up. Then in a scene where I would say that they are both in the wrong. Hulk Hogan pulls up to the security desk and admittedly the guy's being a bit of a jerk. So Hogan gets a bit arsey back at him and then the guard takes a swing at him with his truncheon. It's such an extreme step to take.
Things escalated very quickly.
Very quickly.
I think that something that this is your podcast. I am merely a dog-faced gremlin guest.
Yes.
But I do feel like for the remainder of this, while we're talking about the film, we probably should refer to Terry Hulk Hogan as his character name, which is Sean Armstrong.
It is. That is his name, Sean Armstrong, because he's obviously from Irish descent and he has very strong arms.
Yeah. Not a lot of creativity went into that one.
I don't think so.
Is it because it's close to Stretch Armstrong?
Maybe? Now, if you'd used his name from Suburban Commando, which is the weird name of Shrep, and then put that with Armstrong, then yes.
Shrep Armstrong.
So we then end up in Mr. Mason's office, and while he's in there, he gets a phone call. We then get a creepy close-up shot of a mouth that informs Mason that he is just your average, psychotic, criminal genius that wants his computer chip, and that he has 24 hours to give it to him.
Why would a criminal genius admit that they're a criminal? I don't understand that.
I think it's more so we know.
But you could tell it had creepy music and it was dark.
The fact that he was shot like the bad guy at a Mr. Inspector Gadget.
That's what I was thinking. I'll get you next time, Gadget.
That's exactly who it reminded me of.
And also, when they're having this conversation, when he opened up his drawer, there was exploding posts, and it just made me think of Harry Potter. Like, the post literally exploded, and I thought, what is this, Harry Potter? Like, there's no mention of that again.
No.
And was it set to go at the same time as his phone call? Because if so, that is, like, genius of planning your phone call, being like...
That's just it. He is
a psychotic genius.
Exactly.
So Mason shows Hulk what the Peacefinder chip does. It's a chip that can then control rockets to shoot down any missiles that are aimed at the country. Hulk isn't impressed when he finds out that he isn't hired to protect the chip, but to protect his children, to which he has a huge dislike as he hates kids.
I mean, the kids are brats, fair point. I hated those kids as well, and I normally like kids.
We haven't met the kids yet, so that's strong to go in at this point.
You can tell from the film being called Mr. Nanny that he's going to have bratty kids. Like, I've seen The Sound of Music.
What?
I mean, that's what a lot of people make the comparison to. I mean, when this film came out, there were a lot of comparisons. Mr. Nanny, Sound of Music, sort of comparing the musical elements, the score, the performances. So it's really easy to see why you went there.
Yeah. It's easy to get the two confused. I mean,
They're almost the same.
I would argue that Maria has more hair.
You are obsessed. You are obsessed with Sean Armstrong's hair.
Luxurious hair.
I just don't understand how
It's so
this film was
shiny.
in 1993 and he was balding then and he still pretends he's got hair now.
As they pull up to the house, a nanny comes running out of the house screaming with her hair on fire like Michael Jackson in that Pepsi commercial.
I like the nanny run.
You like the nanny run?
Yeah, she runs like Phoebe or Franz.
Yeah, fair enough. This is where the two kids in the movie make their first appearance. We have Alex, who's played by Robert High Gorman, who was always on my telly as a kid because I was always watching Leprechaun or Rookie of the Year.
Two strong choices.
Explains a lot, actually, about who you became as an adult.
True.
Fuck you, Lucky Charms.
Speaking of wrestlers and films, add the Leprechaun remake to this list.
Oh no, I'm not watching that film again. That was terrible.
Fuck you, Lucky Charms.
And we also have Kate, who is played by Madeline Zima, who has done loads of TV work since and also appeared on the show The Nanny as well.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah, I thought that.
Yeah.
Vicky's too young to remember The Nanny.
Yeah.
I remember Super Nanny.
Sheffield!
I remember Super Nanny.
Not quite the same.
Not the same. Not the same. Get in your youthful box.
That behaviour's unacceptable. I don't like it when you pinch me.
Unacceptable, not
I don't like it.
unacceptable.
In the house, Sean Armstrong seems to be getting way too friendly with a pie. Luckily, he doesn't go all rough stuff on it like Jason Biggs in American Pie, as he is interrupted by the cook, played by Mother Love. She shows him a huge list of ex-nannies that these demon kids have had in the past.
I told you the kid's a psycho.
It's quite a big list. As Hulk walks into the room, he instantly trips over the wire that has been left out. I don't know how he doesn't see it, as it isn't exactly camouflaged or anything. He follows the wire that leads to the closet, and a bowling ball comes out and knocks our hero out cold.
Why would you follow the wire? If there's a tripwire, you just step over it and ignore it. You don't follow it.
See where it goes, see what's happening.
No.
I just have to say that this bowling ball stunt would have certainly killed a lesser man. But Sean Armstrong, he's not really fazed by it.
Well, that's a good point, because these kids didn't know that Sean Armstrong was coming into the house. So that bowling ball was set for the nanny. That would have killed her. Instantly.
I told you, these kids are psycho. We'll come to this point later about how psychotic they are.
Severely concussed, he makes his way to the bathroom, but gets a bowl of water dumped on him. The kids are in the middle of setting up another trap, which involves putting a tripwire on the stairs.
These kids are psycho. They need therapy, not a nanny.
Fair enough.
They're also all of the pranks as well. They're quite low budget Home Alone pranks.
I got a feeling this film is heavily influenced by Home Alone.
I feel like the kids watched Home Alone and then they were like, let's do that. Let's get rid of the nannies. Let's see what we can do.
Let's do that to every single person who comes into our sad, desolate lives.
Yeah.
I feel like they watched a lot of serial killer films, and the only kids film they ever seen is Home Alone.
That would explain a lot.
So they put one roller skate while also rubbing soap along the handrail. These kids are maniacs. The strangest thing in the scene though is the music in the background. I don't know if anybody noticed, but it just seems to be someone making jazz style noises going doo-wah-ba-da-ba-doo-wah. It's really strange.
The soundtrack to the whole film is mental.
By mental, do you mean wonderful and I can't wait to find it on Apple Music?
No, but I want to see it as a playlist.
After taking a huge tumble down the stairs, he joins the family at the dinner table, sits down, and we hear a smashing noise. The little devils put glass down for him to sit on. That's not even comedy, that's just glass in the arse.
At least it rhymes.
The dinner is interrupted by the dad pulling out his mobile fax machine and has to leave, and the cook fills us with more backstory that the mum died 2 years ago and that this is a regular occurrence. We cut to the bad guy's lair and things are really heating up. We are introduced to Thanatos, played by David Johansen, who you might know as being the taxi driver ghost in Scrooged, or more famously as the lead singer from the proto-punk garage band the New York Dolls.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't recognise him at all, but I did think his character looked like Dr. Finkelstein from Nightmare Before Christmas.
It's such a weird reference, but yes, he does a little bit.
It's not a weird reference if people have watched Nightmare Before Christmas. It's not my fault that you two haven't watched that film.
I didn't like it.
Dun dun dun.
This could be divorce, guys. This could be the end.
So, Thanatos seems to have half a metal head like Chop Top in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, but he doesn't keep picking at it with a rusty coat hanger, luckily.
He just gets it buffed instead.
Later on, he does get his head buffed. We'll get to that, don't worry. He has Mr. Mason's head of security hostage and demands for him to tell everything that he knows about the trip.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but I just love that you said head of security.
Head of security.
Nice, I appreciated it. Moving on.
We cut back to the house where Hogan takes a peek into young Alex's room. That came out way creepier than it meant to.
His room looks like Dexter from Dexter's Lab.
The room is filled with loads of different technology and looks like a lab, so Alex is shown to be a little child genius.
It is the coolest room ever, though.
It really is.
I mean, it ticks a lot of boxes for me, and probably every kid of this age.
The next day, Hogan is driving the kids to school, luckily not on the back of the bike, and we get one of David Johansen's other songs. Have you noticed that all the songs are like Randy Newman's, where he's really literal with the lyrics? So if they go into school, they're like, yeah. I don't want to go to school.
Fat man with his kids and dog drove in through the morning fog.
All the songs are really literal.
I love it, straight to the point, moves the plot along.
The little brats deem that Hogan is the chauffeur, so make him wear a hat or else little Kate will scream the town down.
Again, another plot hole. Why didn't he just put his Walkman on? He's shown that he's got a Walkman. He could just put that on and ignore the screaming. Drive along happily.
I got a feeling these are the criminal geniuses though. We then get more plot spelled out for us as we learn that the kids go to public school to build more character, and it turns out this was Sean Armstrong's old school as well. For some reason, only known to the makers of the movie, Hogan has to sit in a little school chair in his daughter's class while she mouths off to the teacher. If I was that teacher, I definitely would have tripped the kid and made it look like an accident at some point.
My question again, another plot hole. There's two kids that he's the bodyguard / nanny for.
Why is he just looking after one?
Yeah, why is he just in the one class? Is it because that she's the youngest one? And because it looked funnier of him in a smaller chair?
I think you may have just nailed it.
Exactly.
Genius. Like an elf when he's at school.
Yes. We get some bonding time with Hulk and Kate as she finds out that he used to always be in detention as well. What a great role model.
King of detention.
Yeah, Sean, King of Detention Armstrong.
Back at home, the kids start to hatch their next prank though. In the weights room, Alex has cooked up an electromagnet device and hooks it up to Hulk's weights. Hulk comes in and decides to warm up by using the bike first, and little Alex sets it all up for him. He sets it up for a 20-minute workout at 90 miles per hour.
That's easy. I don't know what he's complaining about. Sean Armstrong, he's strong. He's got this.
Yeah, but his arms are strong.
Oh, not his legs.
It's not Sean Leg Strong.
Touche.
That name would be silly.
Sean Body Strong.
And can I add that Alex said, I am so smart. And all I could think of was The Simpsons.
I am too smart. I am too smart. S-M-R-T. I mean S-M-A-R-T.
Hulk, while strapped to the machine, makes it explode as the demon children watch on with glee through the window. For some reason, this doesn't end the workout for the man with the 24-inch pythons. He's sitting in a room where a machine just blew him up, but still decides to start lifting some weights. Again, the kids almost commit murder when they get the weights bar to come crashing down almost on his head. After his near-death experience, Hogan goes for a nice time in the shower.
That sounds weird.
Well, if you've just been nearly murdered multiple times, would you really put yourself in the most vulnerable place possible?
I don't know, I think you'd have a bath rather than a shower. I feel like you'd need to soak.
Hogan then steps out of the shower with possibly the smallest towel I've ever seen.
Yeah, for a wealthy family, their towels are very, very tiny.
And also, why are the kids watching him? It shows the kids watching him in the shower, and that's really creepy.
Rough stuff.
Oh, why are they watching him in the shower? And why is the shower like a gym shower rather than like a home shower? I know they're like rich, but like even mansions, they have like individual bathrooms and there's lockers and I don't know. The whole scene just gave me the ick.
I mean, you were disturbed by the shower setup, the locker room in the house. I was just transfixed by the tiny towel.
Yeah.
And just thinking, why? Why is this necessary? Why was this his direction that he decided to go
Maybe
in?
the kids took away his towel and he only had the hand towel. I mean, maybe that was a cut
scene. That seems way too tame for these little sociopaths.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make some logic, but yeah, it was a tiny towel.
It was just really just a moment. The director said, you know what, this film needs a little bit of sex appeal. Let's put the Hulkster in this teeny tiny towel. While the children are watching.
Oh, it's just weird. I just don't like the fact the kids are watching him.
Rough stuff.
Oh, anyway, let's move on from this scene.
While standing in the shower soaking wet, the kids then decide to electrocute him. But it's all fun and games, as Alex says. Don't worry, it's only low voltage. It can't kill him. Phew, that's okay then. No harm done. To which Kate replies,
Then crank it up.
She is a psycho. She is absolutely evil.
What is wrong with these kids?
At this point, these children have no redeeming qualities.
None at all.
I feel like Mr. Mason, the dad, he has much bigger problems than a computer chip terrorist. These children are for sure going to murder him.
Yeah.
And everyone who it comes in their path.
They say this is the house that Freddy built. These kids are worse than Freddy. Freddy Krueger was alright compared to these psychos.
It's like a scene at a Goodnight Mommy.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan starred in the movies Mr. Nanny and Santa with Muscles. Hogan claims he rewrote both scripts entirely, only to have his writing credit stolen from him by the Dastardly Writers Guild. I don't know that one either. I never heard that one.
Oh, well, because you have never heard all of Hulk Hogan's lies unless you've heard every word that's ever come out of Hulk Hogan's mouth.
Finally, Hogan starts to think about leaving, but Mother Lev talks him round and persuades him not to quit. Not before slapping him in the head with a chocolate-covered spoon first, though.
Why?
I don't know. It's funny.
Don't even know.
A lot of the things that are happening, a lot of the actions that are happening in this film have a real cartoon element to them.
It is quite Looney Tunesy.
Yeah, you expect to see like the pow and wallop and whoa.
Can we just add into the mix? I would rather watch Looney Tunes.
You could add it, but you're watching this.
Great. I love that the fact that the kid literally says, "We're trying to kill him." They actually say that to the dad, and the dad's just like, "Oh, no harm done. No punishment. I can fix the ceiling. It's fine. Don't worry about it."
It's a cry for help. Daddy, pay attention to us.
Like, if they had a pet dog, the dog would be dead. It'd be like one of those films when, like, the pets die.
Perhaps they would have been throwing it into the sea.
Maybe that's it.
Maybe it was one of the kids.
Yeah, can we rewind it?
Yes. Hogan pulls Mr. Mason to the side and says, "I'm sorry that your wife died, but if you can't deal with them, get rid of them." Damn, Hulk, that line was cold.
Murder, adoption, chuck them in the river like they're a dog.
At this point of the film, you do think that murder, taking that route out, is probably the most sensible decision to make with these children.
Yeah, you gotta take them out.
Yeah.
Take them out quick.
Get rid.
We then cut to the bad guys in Mr. Mason's office with the help of the head of security stealing the safe with the chip as Thanatos overreacts to high heavens.
Every time you say Thanatos, I just keep thinking of Thanos.
Yeah, it's really hard to say once you've known Thanos as a character.
But if that means that we can make 50% of this cast disappear, does that mean we can make both the kids go?
Back in school, Hogan and Kate watch out as Alex is being bullied and mugged by some older students. But Hulk doesn't intervene, as Kate says it will only make things worse. If you have Hulk as a security guard, use Hulk.
Yeah, he's your bodyguard. If you're getting bullied, that's his job. Like, he's the worst bodyguard ever. He wasn't employed to be a nanny. He was employed to be a bodyguard.
Yep.
So if you see him getting attacked, surely your job is to stop them getting attacked.
The kids decide that they're going to give Hulk one last test, and if he survives, he can stay. They call it the Pit of Blood. Jesus Christ, these kids.
If he survives, he can stay.
But it's a tried and tested pit of blood as well, because I'm really surprised. I mean, they assembled that very, very quickly. They had the supplies ready to go. They knew where things were to put together the pit of blood.
I mean, Mary Poppins had it easy, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
I mean, those kids were a bit bratty, but...
Walk in the park compared to these psychos.
I like the fact that they said, if he survives. What did they think was going to happen?
They just keep trying to actually kill Sean.
Kate screams from outside and pretends that she's drowning, and Hulk comes out for the save and falls into the pit of blood in the pool and emerges looking like something out of a nightmare.
Before he goes into the pit of blood, he was making a sandwich.
Oh, yeah, can we talk about the sandwich?
Okay,
we need to talk about the sandwich.
Let's talk about the sandwich.
One, it was clearly a foot-long sub, but it looked bigger than a normal foot-long sub. And I know Subway subs aren't a foot long; they're actually smaller. But it looked like the biggest sandwich ever. Is that because the Hulk's so big, like proportionally? But the sandwich looked like a whole French baguette.
Oh, it was longer than it was definitely longer than a foot. And he's when the scene opens, he's spreading on mayonnaise with a spatula, and then licks the spatula clean.
That's just disgusting, because I don't even like mayonnaise in anything. Like, I wouldn't even have it in the house. So that was absolutely disgusting. I nearly threw up watching that. The cook starts talking to him, and then all of a sudden the sandwich is made, but I didn't see him put any filling in the sandwich. It was just bread and mayo, and then he took a bite into a full sandwich. I know they're talking for a few seconds, but there wasn't enough time to put all that filling in, because it was a hefty sandwich.
I think the filling was on the other half of the sandwich.
Yeah, so you did see it was quite elaborately rolled, sort of deli meat with some olives and other garnish. So it was there on the side of the mayonnaise ridden.
A few moments later.
So you don't see the two halves come together, which to me seems like it would be quite a challenge.
Because it was so big.
It was so big. It was just. It was a cartoon sandwich.
It was a cartoon sandwich. Hogan then screams in their little faces and demands that they stay seated on the couch. Later that night, the dad comes home and they are still there, just sitting in the dark. The kids announce that they are being punished, but look ecstatic. When you think about it, that's actually really sad in reality.
But they did listen. It's the first time they've actually listened to anybody, and you think, okay, these kids might have some redeeming qualities.
We cut to Bird, who says that we'll see Hulk tomorrow, and is in the middle of having all of his possessions being repossessed. The film just keeps getting sadder and sadder. Now with Hulk on his side, Alex wants him to teach him how to stand up to the bullies. Little Kate can't get to sleep, so he gets the Hulkster in to help. She explains that she hasn't been able to sleep since her mummy went to heaven, and Hulk said that he lost his dad as well. She demands that he sings her to sleep in the most terrifying way possible.
The whole scene is so creepy.
Yeah, there's some really weird music in the background, which I don't know if it's like, because of the way it is, I'm not sure if it's meant to be diegetic or not. Is it meant to be actually in the scene, or is it just for us to hear?
I couldn't say, but I mean, the music was weird.
It was very weird. The head of security turns up and sets up the dad when the bad guys are waiting to abduct him. Before going outside though, the dad hides the microchip inside Kate's doll where nobody will find it. The next morning, Murray turns up to the house. Mother Love isn't impressed and then delivers the best line of the film.
Ooh, the dynamic duo, Wimpy and Gimpy.
Amazing.
Like, Jesus Christ, Wimpy and Gimpy? I don't know if you could say that these days.
There are a lot of quality insults in this film. I don't know if we're going to cover them later on.
I don't know if I've gotten to them, but there is definitely a scuzz bucket.
A scuzz bucket, scum bucket. Sean is referred to as Frankenstein Lurch, Pucker Butt.
It's a good one.
And Porky, amongst others.
The list continues. What follows then is possibly the greatest scene in film history. Murray tells the kids about the night that he had saved Hulk's life when he was shot in the leg. Hulk and Bert are sitting in a dressing room talking about how well the wrestling match went. Thanatos then walks in with the biggest, most ridiculous hair that you've ever seen and says that he had ordered Hulk to throw the match, but he had refused. They start to make fun of him, to which Thanatos gives the best line that has ever been put on celluloid.
First to defy me, then you mock my hair? You're dead!
Again, things escalated quickly.
Like, whoa!
This film, like, they just don't know how to, like, get from A to B. It's just, they start and then it's full throttle insanity.
Why not just fire him?
I don't know. He then takes out his gun, looking to shoot Hulk, but Bert jumps in the way and gets blasted in the leg. But because he's so small, the only place he would have hit Hulk Hogan is in the dick. Was he trying to shoot him in the dick?
That seems like the only place he was aiming for.
And also, like, the way he jumped in front of him was like so cack-handed. It wasn't like I'm jumping to save your life. It was kind of like a weird sidestep shuffle. It was just weird.
It wasn't really an action-filled scene.
Well, if you want action, Hulk then gives the chase to him and they end up on the roof of the arena. Thanatos goes at Hulk with an axe, but he ducks and Thanatos goes flying off the roof.
How did he not die?
Well, they let you know. They say that he fell into an empty pool on his head and that's how he now has a metal head, because the afro cushioned his fall so he didn't die.
Okay, so his life was saved from his hair.
Yes.
So the fact that I have hair extensions and I've got extra hair on my head means if I ever fall and hit my head, I'm not going to die. I'm going to be okay. I'll just have a metal plate.
If you fall into an empty pool, yes.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a lesson that we're learning from this film.
Okay, that's a good lesson to have. Like, why was the pool empty?
They didn't bring up why the pool.
I mean, we didn't sort of go into the maintenance, the pool maintenance schedule or anything like that. We don't know, maybe there was an accident, it had to be drained. We did not get that backstory.
I want that backstory.
Maybe the pool was filled with the pool of blood from before,
Maybe.
had to be drained.
Maybe. It all makes sense now. Thank you for clearing that up for me.
We cut back to school where Alex has decided to get his own back on the bullies, and when they look to mug him, they pull out his wallet. Alex has it booby-trapped and they get an electric shock and run off.
Zap!
Bert, on the other hand, has suggested using a lead pipe, but Alex decided that electrocution was the way forward instead.
He also offered him a knuckle duster, and I wrote something else. Oh, mace. Knuckle duster, mace, and a lead pipe. And I also just think these kids are already psychotic. Like, I was surprised they didn't offer him a gun. I thought he was going to offer him a gun. Yeah. And I'm like, this kid's going to be a school shooter.
Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't have his own knuckle duster, mace, or is he on him?
According to the Hulkster, he partied with John Belushi after WrestleMania 2 in 1986. John Belushi sadly died in 1982.
I was about to say.
He has no shame. He just says anything.
We cut back to the bad guy's lair where Thanatos is literally getting his head buffered, and we get a lovely shot of, let's just put it, his happy face, I guess we'll call it.
He's enjoying that. I mean, there was no point to this scene at all.
Nope.
Except to show the intense gratification he got from having the metal plate on his head, skull. I'm not sure what the best way to say that, how to phrase this. Having that buffed. It was a little disturbing.
This film has just literally blown my mind with like, what certificate is it?
I think it blew his mind by the look of his face.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Moving swiftly on from that scene. Let's forget it didn't happen.
So now they're committing water torture on Mr. Mason to get him to tell where the chip is. Thanatos then lets him know that he's going to go after the kids to find out where it is hidden. Back at home, Hulk is having a delightful afternoon tea party with Kate and her teddies. Her evil side comes back out when she demands him to get his pinky up while drinking tea. Then he starts to get his hair done as well. Did anyone find this funny?
No.
No.
Not really.
No.
It was just so...
I guess when you're 5, it might have been funny to like see him having his hair curled and drinking tea. Kind of made me think a bit of Toy Story when Buzz is having the tea party with Mrs. Nesbit.
Alex shows all of his cool inventions to Bert in his bedroom, like poison ivy toilet paper and the exploding toilet seat. Hopefully these will come into play later on. They make their way downstairs to witness Hogan doing ballet in a little tutu. I don't understand where he got this tutu from.
My question was, he said that he was confused about him wearing tights, whereas he's a wrestler. Wrestlers wear tights. So the fact that he was wearing tights wasn't what was confusing, it was more the tutu for me.
I guess wrestling is quite tights heavy.
I mean, what struck me is that he's obviously wearing this purple ballet leotard and tutu with work boots.
Oh, obviously. I forgot about the work boots.
Yeah,
he's got to keep it a bit manly.
Yeah, I suppose so.
With that, the front door is knocked down and the hired goons enter.
This just reminded me of the weasels from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yes.
They did look like the weasels. In the other creepiest part of the film, Hogan asks, "What are you doing here?" To which one of them replies,
"We have come to play with the children."
God.
Oh, no.
Rough stuff. One of them manages to take out Bert and Mother Love, and then the biggest one and Hulk Hogan start to go at it, but he's too strong for the Hulkster and knocks him down until he's out cold, and they make off with the kids and Bert and take them back to the hideout.
Why Bert?
I don't know why they took Bert.
Why not?
Then why didn't they take... What's Mother Love? What was her name? Like, Corina?
I think it actually was Corina.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure if I've missed it. I don't know why they took Bert.
I mean, this comes into play later on, but at the time,
It does.
it is a bit of like, why are they taking him?
So Mr. Mason tells Thanatos that he can have the chip as long as he lets the kids go, to which he agrees, but he wants to keep Bert to get revenge for his hair. The plot is actually insane. Under pressure, Alex tells him that it's in Hogan's room, so they'll have to get him to bring the toilet seat to the hideout. When Alex lets him know that it's Thanatos behind all of this, Thanatos slaps the shit out of the kid.
I mean, really? Doesn't he kick him in the face?
Yeah.
He does later on.
Okay, sorry.
I will say though, the kid deserved it. I mean, he has got some redeeming qualities, but my god, those kids needed a slap.
Yeah, we were, I think that we were probably all like, yes, finally.
Yeah.
Knocked some sense into him.
Little shit.
Well, we could all let one slap go. You would have thought that Hogan would maybe try to sneak in to this lair, but nope. He comes in on the loudest bike in the world, even though there are hired goons with guns everywhere.
This is a real goon-heavy film.
It's very goony.
But not the Goonies, just to establish. That's a
not.
much better film, and if you're asking me to recommend this or the Goonies, I would recommend the Goonies.
Maybe. Hogan manages to take them out though. I say take them out, he actually crashes his bike into them, and it seems to be more luck than judgment. He then steals their boat. Yep, this really happens.
They just wanted a scene of him on a boat, didn't they?
I think so. Hogan then goes full fight scene on us on the boat as no one is driving, and the boat's going about 90 miles an hour.
So as fast as the bike?
Yes. Hogan then gets to the lair where he has a rematch with the biggest goon who took him out earlier. As this is all going on, Bert manages to lean down, grab a gun that has been dropped, shoot it upwards towards the ceiling while using his feet, I might add, to blow through the rope that's tied around his wrists. This is absolute madness.
There was so many shots as well.
And it keeps going.
I just put, WTF, he's actually unhinged. Why would you even think that? Why would you think, there's a gun here, I'm gonna shoot the rope? And he does it with his toes. Like, no.
Like, do you reckon in like one version of the script, it just like blows his head off? It's like, oops.
He must think that he's a heck of a shot to risk that and think, I'm gonna be okay, this is gonna work.
He must have done something like this before to even think of it.
This is in the 3-hour extended cut, the director's version, where it shows a bit more of Bert's backstory.
Yes.
And how he was a sniper.
Yes.
In Vietnam.
I thought maybe he was in the circus, and then he went from circus to wrestling.
Okay, well that's a different different story than I was thinking.
Okay, I'm quite intrigued about the circus background of mine.
I'm gonna get real weird with it.
Why would he be using a gun in the circus?
I wasn't thinking of using a gun in the circus. I was thinking more because he was doing it with his feet.
Okay, so he's trained with his feet. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking more of like, not like contortionist, but you know, like in like the freak show circus type thing, and they're like doing weird things with their feet, like, you know, people that like peel bananas with their feet and stuff, and like weird things like that in the circus.
What?
I don't know anyone who does that. Thankfully.
I don't think I've ever been to a circus where I've seen a man peel a banana with his feet.
No, but like people do, like, do you know what I mean?
No, we don't know. We proudly do not know what you mean.
Is this a weird OnlyFans thing? Like, I don't know what this is.
No, like in like the circus, they have like freak shows and stuff, and people like do weird things. Like,
how old are you?
She's from Victorian times.
Are you thinking of the film Freaks?
Maybe that's why I'm getting confused.
Anyway, Bert uses his feet to shoot himself free from his rope restraints.
Good lord. In a sentence that I thought I'd never say, Hogan then somehow takes out the biggest goon with the toilet seat, while Thanatos is running his metallic head into Bert. As the big goon is trying to drown the Hulkster, Alex jumps up to his back, but gets kicked across the room, which gives Hulk the last bit of motivation he needs to finally take him on. Hogan fights back and ties him up in chains and lifts him to the ceiling. Thanatos then threatens to destroy the toilet seat, again not a sentence I thought I'd say, but Alex tells him that it's not really in there. He loses it and rams his head into Hogan, and they start the final boss battle. Alex and Mr. Mason plant a device though which causes Thanatos' head to be magnetically pulled to the machine, and then he gets shot out through the ceiling in a Looney Tunes style never to be seen again. It's weird though because he spins around the machine like that level in Sonic.
I've got when he's spinning and then his head comes off. Why is his head made of tinfoil? Is it meant to be metal but it just looks like tinfoil? It looked like tinfoil from an Easter egg.
It did.
That's what the head looked like.
It absolutely did. It was half of a tin-foiled Easter egg.
Well, anyway, they're back home and safe now. The Hulkster says goodbye to the Mason family as he decides to go away on vacation. But the kids have one last trick up their sleeves if they've tied up his bike. And that's how the film ends, with the Hulkster flying off his bike to certain death.
I mean, it's an incredible film, and I think that when you look at it, this is 1993, so this is, you know, we're celebrating the 30th anniversary of this film.
There we go.
And so I think it's important to note sort of other films that were out at this time.
Okay.
So this film, when you're thinking, like, when you're describing this film, you're thinking, this definitely was an Oscar contender.
Yeah, well,
100%. Obviously. For acting, for direction, for Best Picture. But I will say that it won 0 Academy Awards. However, the films that year that did win. So for Best Picture rather, it was Schindler's List.
Yeah.
No comparison.
I know Tom Hanks won for Philadelphia. Jurassic Park won for Best Visual Effects. And it's like you look at all these categories and you think, I'm pretty sure that Mr. Nanny was robbed.
I will say there wasn't that many visual effects, so I think Jurassic Park did deserve that one, but...
I mean...
did you see him get electrocuted?
I did see him
spin around and around. And the Academy Awards that year, Mrs. Doubtfire won for Best Makeup and Hairstyling.
Oh, I mean, Best Hair. The wigs in this were phenomenal. You couldn't tell, so this should have won Best. I mean, Mrs. Doubtfire, you knew that was Robin Williams.
The whole time.
Yeah. I mean, Hulk's hair, he's had that look going for like 30 years now, and he's still pulling it off, so that's some good hair.
Even Offset.
Exactly. So, I will say it's only the visual effects on, everything else it should have had in the bag.
So this film had a reported budget of 10 million.
Jesus Christ.
What?
Yes.
I thought it was $10.
But it was a monumental flop and only brought in $4.3 million at the box office. That's quite bad. It made like less than half its budget.
Who was funding it? Tommy Wiseau?
Maybe. Who do you think was the best in the film?
The dog.
The dog getting thrown into the sea.
I quite like Bert. Mother Love was pretty...
Mother Love.
I actually think those two, if there was a film about those two and they were those characters, I think you could actually get a good film somewhere.
I don't think it's a film, I think it's a sitcom.
They were very sitcom-y.
Yeah, I could imagine them in like a 20-minute episode for a series.
The main question, was Hulk Hogan any good in this film?
Yeah, I mean that's again it's kind of like was John Wayne good in all of his films? He was the same character. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Rocky franchise, and so I thought his performance as Thunder Lips in Rocky 3 was, again, it was just very much Hulk Hogan. Or Terry Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
Whereas this one was a little bit more. He was able to practice his comedic chops. And I, for what it is, I think it's an okay film. I think that if I had watched this when I was like 10, I probably would have thought it was pretty hilarious.
Yeah. Now, did either of you watch this, or is this the first time you've both seen it?
First time.
First time.
Okay, no, I did actually watch this as a kid, obviously, because I was the right age group. I was a massive Hulk Hogan fan. And I remember watching it a few times. I think we recorded it off Sky Movies. I can't remember watching it loads, so I think I probably wasn't that into it, but I do remember watching it a bit.
I feel like it's just like a poor man's attempt of Home Alone, chucking in some wrestling. But if it was on TV and I had like the nostalgia factor from watching it as a kid, so like if it's like a Sunday afternoon, I'm scrolling through telly and it's on like Channel 5 or something, and you're like, oh, chuck that on. Would it offend me? No. Would I go out of my way to watch it again? No. Would I choose to watch it if there was anything else on, or would I rather watch Catfish rerun to the 500th time? Yes. But it wasn't the worst film I've ever seen.
Okay. What would you actually give it at a 10?
I feel like because this is the first one, it's a really tricky decision because it's going to be the benchmark for everything else that we rate.
Okay, I'll go first. I think it's a slightly below average film. I'd go a 4.
Yeah.
4 out of 10 for me.
I was thinking 3 or 4, but I don't want to start with a 0.5 because I know you'll get offended.
You can't start the series with a 0.5.
I think I'll go 4.
Okay.
And that's also what I was thinking, because I was trying to think sort of what are the other films that are going to be watched in this series, and I have a feeling that this is going to be a 4, and I have a feeling that the rest of the films are going to be much worse.
Yes.
much worse.
There are definitely some worse ones on the list. So I gathered a few different ratings and reviews that were online. So this film actually got a 3.8 rating on IMDb.
Oh, come on, that's pretty good.
So we were pretty close, and a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. So anyway, on IMDb, left by The Watcher, he says, "One hell of a funny movie. This movie is so funny, and Hulk Hogan is a crack-up. I love the scene where Bert tells the story of how he saved Shawn. The music is that scene. It's so cool and funny. Cool, spelt with a K, by the way.
Wow.
One of the funniest family movies out there. If you want laughs, watch this. 5 out of 5.
Whoa, was that written by Hulk Hogan's mom?
If you want laughs, watch this. 5 out of 5. But then he went on to rate the film 8 out of 10, which is technically 4 out of 5. So there is that.
Amazing, I like it.
We also have Catherine Grace Zay. She belongs on some sort of list somewhere after writing this, I believe. So she wrote, "Mr. Nanny, in my opinion, is very hilarious. One of the best things about it is when he suffers all the torture. It's hard for me to say which part of the torture was the most hilarious."
Jesus Christ. What was the name?
Catherine Grace Zay.
And can Catherine be shortened to Kate? Is that the girl from the film?
Maybe.
Exactly. I said they were going to grow up to be psychos. I called it.
My favorite part of the torture was this part.
Medrel then put, much better than expected. I was expecting a complete bomb with this. I was pleasantly surprised. It actually didn't totally stink. And then gives it a 3 out of 10. So I'm not quite sure how bad he thought it was going to be, if it was a lot better than he thought, and he then only gave it a 3 out of 10. So they're off IMDb. We've also got 2 off Rotten Tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
I'm going to go with tomatoes now. James Berardinelli, one of the most monstrously agonising motion pictures to come along this year. By comparison, Stop or My Mum Will Shoot is actually watchable.
Wow.
That's a strong
Yikes.
statement.
I don't think he liked it.
According to Hogan, he met a very ill Make-A-Wish kid in England and got him a ticket to SummerSlam at Wembley Stadium to watch him wrestle in the main event. Hogan wasn't at SummerSlam. He wasn't in the UK at the time. So now he's making up Make-A-Wish stories.
So there we have it, guys. That was the first ever review in our Can Wrestlers Act series. Next time out, we'll be taking a look at another wrestler to ask the very same question. What did you guys think of this movie? Should it be remembered as a dud, or does it belong in the It's So Bad It's Good category? Big thank you again to Erica for joining us today. And as always, it's a bye from Erica.
Bye.
It's a bye from Vicky.
Bye, guys.
And it's a bye from me. Bye. And hopefully, we'll see you for another video soon.